Hello, hockey fans. We're here for the new episode of Five for Talking, first episode of the playoffs. I'm here with Caps, the captain of the show. And we're not even going to give you anything to start this off. We're just going to jump right into it. We're talking playoffs. We are about 4 games in across the entire league at this point. We'll try to do these videos as regularly as possible now that the playoffs are going, and we want to keep you updated on it. So I want big one first. The Rangers are beating the Devils. And obviously I'm not having expected you to have seen every game because I have not seen every game, but we know in the world of this, I think we expected the Rangers to beat the Devils. I don't know if everybody did. But at least on paper, as terms of what you would call the favorites, the Devils were the favorites. I don't think we agree with that generally. But
I think it kind of changed after the trade deadline. I think just before the trade deadline, Devils were considered the favorites, but I think that kind of changed after the trade deadline. I don't know if you would agree with that.
I think generally the Devils had a far better season than the Rangers. I think they finished 10 points ahead of the Rangers or something like that, or it's like 8 wins ahead.
Mhm.
So, I would just say if you were going to be going by on paper, I would say the Devils were the favorite. Realistically, as someone who watches hockey, I know that they were not. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like most betting odds, Vegas is not betting on things based on knowing who's a better team. They're not watching the games. They're just going off records and face value. Either way, I don't think a lot of people were expecting that. I mean, mind you, we did, like I said, that's go. You were gonna say something?
No, I mean I agree with you. We knew that this was going to be a hard battle, but we kind of figured that the Rangers would be the better team, but I didn't think that they would be as dominant as they were in the first couple of games. Now Devils won the last game. It'd be interesting to see what happens next. But the Rangers look very, very good.
No, I'm gonna agree. I don't think it's. I mean, it's 2-1, but the Devils had a hard fought battle to get that one win.
Yeah.
So we'll keep going. We'll get through this. Boston Bruins 3-1 against the Florida Panthers right now, series wise. And you know what? I'm actually just surprised how good Florida has been. I didn't expect them to win the series, but I also didn't think that they would play as well as they have. They're a pretty good match, like ice wise to Boston in terms of what they put down skill wise.
Yeah, I think in terms of toughness as well. For a fact that the Panthers would push back on the Bruins. I do like the way they've been playing. I like the way Gudis is, manhandling Marchand. It's pretty humorous to me. But I was hoping that it'd be 2-2, but it's obvious and plain to see that the Bruins are the far superior team. Not surprised it's 3-1. I do foresee the Panthers winning one more game
I can agree with that.
before the Bruins close out the series.
I think that's fair. Carolina looks great
Yeah,
against the Islanders.
that was the shock. That was a shock to me. I honestly thought that the Islanders. Yeah, I thought it would be 2-2 right now because right now it's up 3-1.
I would have said I agree and I don't. I think the Carolina Hurricanes are a far better team and we expect them to do this, but in the condition that they're in health wise, I didn't expect this.
That's why I figured it'd be 2-2.
Yeah. That's been a good series though. It's been an entertaining one. We're gonna jump to the West. We're not gonna talk about the Leafs because we'll just end the episode talking about the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
Oilers versus Kings.
You guys called it.
Kings are physically outplaying them. They're beating the crap out of them. They're a far better defensive team. And even if I asked a random person on the street who would have no idea who their goalie is at this point, the goaltending has been much better. Connor McDavid cannot do this all himself, and I'm sorry to say this, and I'll let you argue this point if you feel contrary to what I'm going to say. Draisaitl is not that guy. He's an amazing player. He's a top tier talent in the NHL, but he's not at a level of I'm going to carry this team. So if Connor McDavid is being shut down, Draisaitl's not going to show up and save them. Do you know what I mean? He might score a goal.
Yeah, but I think it takes more than, just Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah.
That it's. I can't argue against that because LA has been the better team. There's nothing to argue pretty much. You guys were right. I went along with what you guys were saying, and then I did leave that comment about changing my mind about Edmonton, and I thought that Edmonton was a better team. I'm wrong.
I mean, you're not necessarily, I wouldn't say you were wrong, because I think a month before that, all of us would have said the same thing about Edmonton being lower on the list. I think Edmonton did prove themselves later in the season there. They went on a terrific run, and they have Connor McDavid. I expect more from Connor McDavid. But at the same time, he can't do the whole thing by himself. It's like they're not built like the Penguins were or the Capitals were through those years of, we have 2 stars, we're building around them. They're wishy-washy. They're not very tough. They're dirty, if anything. Like, their tough guys are dirty players, not like actual physical players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So if the Oilers get eliminated in the first round, is this a step back for them? Do you see big changes?
I think they need to definitely. Well, they're losing right now as we're filming this video, 3-0 in the first period. We'll say that.
Second.
So people watching tomorrow, second period, sorry. People watching tomorrow, you can let us know in the comments if Edmonton ends up winning. But I think I would generally blow this team up.
Wow.
I think you have to keep McDavid, obviously. I think you question whether or not what you can pull for Draisaitl. I wouldn't necessarily say you need to trade Draisaitl, I'll be honest with you, but if I would look at what you could possibly pull in for him, because if you could get 2 really good players, if you could pull in 2 William Nylanders to replace 1 Draisaitl, I mean, that might help you out a lot. You'll be able to spread out the value more. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the rest of the team needs to be rebuilt. They need to start from scratch. They need a whole new defensive core. Arguably, you can keep Darnell Nurse. They need 2 goalies.
They could keep Okholm. That would be great too.
Yeah, okay, you could keep him. But you get more where I'm going with this, right? It's more of I would field offers for whatever, but I would mostly look to rebuild around those guys. Pittsburgh style, like when Pittsburgh did that mini blow up, when their contracts got too big and they had to go all new with when Kunitz left and those guys. But
talk about another team that's got to blow up.
Yeah, but that they're in a situation now where they're on the last legs, right?
Yeah.
Same with Washington. Washington, at least Washington's trade deadline, they made moves for young pieces. So that's a bonus for them. So okay, we'll move on from Edmonton here. Colorado and the Kraken. I'm surprised the Kraken won that game, but they played really well. I actually watched that game. Colorado looked terrible. I don't have as much faith as I did when we did the tier list in Colorado at this point. I do think they're still possibly a shoe-in for the West, but I don't think they're even coming close to beating whoever gets there from the East.
I can't argue with that. Unless they get better, I don't see Colorado going very far after the first round.
Yeah,
they're up 2-1. However, Kraken are definitely making it a series. Very difficult for the Avalanche to beat them. But it's far from done. It's far from done because Avalanche had to score 6 goals last game in order to beat them, and that's goes to show their forward depth. However, I don't foresee that happening every single game, but that's going to be a heck of a series. I didn't think the Kraken had it in them, but they're definitely making a series out of it.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with what you said. You kind of touched on those points. That's top tier. Dallas versus Minnesota. Dallas tied it up 2-2 today.
Yep.
I think this is a weird one because it's hard to write off Minnesota, especially since they got almost everybody back who was off. But I still feel weird that Dallas is not destroying them. Does that even make sense at all? Like Dallas, we expected so much from Dallas, especially in our first 2 tier lists that we did in the season.
Kind of changed towards the end a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I still think they're a powerhouse of a team. I guess losing Pavelski kind of hurt them.
That was a hell of a hit.
I think that was a clean hit. That was a pretty clean hit too. So,
man, that's gonna be a tough one. That is definitely gonna be a tough one. I think Minnesota comes out of that one. If you want a prediction, I think Minnesota does it.
And you know what? Minnesota is a good matchup for the Kings. If should that go that way, and I think Minnesota is again like the Kraken style team that would be a tough opponent for Colorado or whoever they face going forward. The last series we'll talk about quickly. To be honest with you, I have zero interest in this. It's been some of the most boring games of all the games, even though they've been physical. Vegas versus Winnipeg. And I have seen these games, and that's because they're the only other Canadian team in the playoffs, so they're always on TV.
Yeah, a bit of a heartbreaker there for the last game, man. They came back to tie the game and they lost in overtime. Kind of entertaining.
The Oilers are in the playoffs. I said the only other Canadian team. Correct myself.
It was a bit entertaining. I was.
It's not that it's not entertaining. I don't care at all. Like, it's not a series that I care about. Like, okay. I don't. You know what I mean? Like, there's no stakes in this for me. Who cares if Winnipeg or Vegas make it to the next round?
I still want to see Winnipeg go through. That's my personal opinion. It'll be cool to have more Canadian teams go through into the second round.
I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah. Based on that hat you're wearing, but
I mean, to be honest with you, if it's not the Leafs, I don't feel like pride in a Canadian team making it. Who cares? Like, that's how I feel. I mean, I know people do. I'm just, that's my personal.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. When it comes to Ottawa, Montreal.
I mean, I don't blame you.
But no, it's. I only caught a little bit of the last game. I haven't been able to catch too many of these games, but just based on what I saw last game, this is another one of those series that is far from done, and it's a series that can go either way because both teams are really good. Both teams have great goaltending. Well, I can honestly say Winnipeg is the superior goaltender. And Hellebuck, but Vegas being up 2-1, this is far from over.
Yeah. So okay, let's just talk about Leafs. Let's go right into Leafs here. I think that's where we really want to be. I think that's I will segment these videos for the fans watching, so you don't have to go through everything if you only want to watch the Leafs. So it's 2-1. Leafs are beating Tampa Bay currently.
Yep.
Surprisingly, they're playing very physical. It's a side of the Leafs we haven't seen. Their defense has been pretty quality. And as bad as it sounds, I really appreciate the fact that they're trying to go out there and kill everybody on Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they're learning from the Bruins when they were facing the Bruins few years ago.
It feels like 90s Leafs. It feels like 90s Leafs playoffs.
And a lot of the guys that are doing the hitting are guys that they picked up at the deadline.
Yeah. Luke Schen's been involved in like every single scrum that's been on the ice.
Luke Schen's been a welcoming surprise. I didn't think, I had him projected as this third line pairing, but he's been playing extremely well. one of the few highlights of the last game, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
You want to be truthful?
Mhm.
They shouldn't have won last game.
Yeah.
But it was a welcoming surprise. To have a team play so bad as the Leafs, and they still came out as the winner, because it happened that they've experienced the other side of the coin so many times where they ran into a hot goalie and they were the far superior team and they lost.
Yeah.
It was nice to have,
I would say it's nice in two ways. One, because the bounce never goes the Leafs' way. We've known that. And it's not me being like a or like expecting sympathy for being a Leafs fan. Like, me, I'm like the least nice person towards the Leafs probably of anyone that we know, even being as big of a Leafs fan as I am. But it's nice to see them get a bounce go their way once in a while, where they finally weren't the one that lost in that situation, like you said. I also think that the way that they're playing feels like Tampa Bay is mentally being defeated. Does that make sense? Like, when Tampa Bay's on their AA game and they just can't figure out how to get by the Leafs, I see them like breaking down. Look how it turned out yesterday. There was all kinds of like attempted fights. Tampa Bay was so frustrated with everything that was happening. And that's usually on the other side of the ice. It's usually happening to us. So
I agree. But I must say, there were parts of that game that completely frustrated me with the way the Leafs were playing. They kept icing the puck, and that kept bugging the crap out of me.
It's funny that you said that, because my dad complained about the exact same thing. He's like, this felt like the 2000s era of the Leafs, where every time they got the puck, they just dumped it down the ice.
Yeah, and they couldn't bring it up. And I don't understand why. You got players that can do that. You don't need to go for that stretch pass. You know what I mean? And it drove me nuts. Ryan O'Reilly, I can't say enough of him. Like, this guy is, he's setting such an example for this team.
He's such a good leader. He really is.
And Samsonov, oh man, I hope he can keep it going. He's, wow, him. Vasilevsky, as good as he is, it was a rare thing to see him losing 2 games in a row in a playoffs.
Yeah, the Leafs.
That was something.
Okay, this game was up in the air, right? So I'm not going to say
absolutely.
that. But the last win by the Leafs, the previous game, he just couldn't keep up with them. The Leafs were everywhere.
Let's see if they can keep it going. I want to see. Austin Matthews has some moments of brilliance. Marner, he's shooting more. Nylander had a bad game yesterday, and I don't care what anybody says.
Which is fair, but I'm not.
Flores had a bad game. That whole line was not that good.
No, I agree.
But that's why Sheldon Keefe had to switch it up a little bit.
However,
yep,
the best playoff player of this generation of Leafs, since we've been on this first round losing streak, has been William Nylander.
So, yeah, well, I agree with that. He just needs to be a little more consistent.
No, fair. Yeah. That's so fair. And I think you've always made a good point of the fact that even on days when he's super hot offensively, he contributes nothing at the other end.
Yeah. They just got to be, team defense. It's definitely, something that'll make him successful. I must say, Matthew Knies has been a welcoming surprise. I love his play. He's gelled really well with Achari and O'Reilly. And, when Bunting is able to, when he's able to come back, I just don't see anybody coming out of the lineup. Bunting has become such a liability for this team right now that,
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, when he plays, the referees are just going to look for him. Anything that he does, whether he's right or wrong, is going to come back to haunt him. And I don't think, I don't know if he should come back this series. I really don't. Unless you pull Austin Reese, but I don't know. This is a tough one. Here's the thing. If Bunting does come back, he should not be on the top 6. No way. He should
I'm
be on the
okay.
bottom six, possibly on the last line. Limit his minutes to like 10 minutes a game, so that there's no reason for the rest to call a penalty on Bunting. Limit. He needs to be camouflaged, and I think that's the only way that you'll be able to effectively bring him back. I had another point, but now I kind of forgot.
Well, that was a good point on its own. What do you think about Lafferty? Oh, go ahead.
Anybody hating on Justin Hall needs to shut the hell up, because he's been playing very well for the last few
Bargo, that's a shot right at you. That's a shot right at Bargo.
I don't care what anybody says. He's been playing very well, and honestly, Keefe has made the right call by pulling Liljegren out. However, you got Gustafsson waiting in the wins just in case anything happens. So, Justin Hall, good on him. It's so funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "What can Justin Hall do to win over the fans?" And I think the thing I said was, fight Corey Perry and beat him up, or get an overtime goal. And he almost he got into a fight with Corey Perry, and he almost scored an overtime goal last night because he hit the post. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know you're talking.
No, that's some good points. I think if the Leafs win the cup too, that might help a little bit. But yeah, I've been really impressed by Lafferty. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like he's absolutely filling in the role that he's playing right now, and I can't say more good things about the guys they picked up. They're all just slotting in perfectly into these spots.
Yeah, despite the first game, I thought that their depth players have played very well. I mean, they could have played a little bit better yesterday, but a lot of time for them to step up, man. They're going to really need them down the stretch for those last few games, because I don't see this series closing out in a couple games.
No, I think tomorrow's game is going to be absolutely massive. The Leafs need to go up 3-1, or they're going to be really at risk, because I think if you let Tampa Bay pick up any sort of momentum, it's going to be scary.
Great.
To be honest with you, I don't really have anything else. Do you have anything else?
Go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and you know what time it is.